What's up everyone, Darcblade here with a breakdown video of the Title Update 4 showcase for Monster Hunter Wilds. This also covers a little bit in regards to information for Monster Hunter Stories 3, but we're mostly focusing on the news that came for Monster Hunter Wilds. So let's jump into this. Now earlier today, Capcom hosted their showcase for Title Update 4. Instead of this being a live stream, this was a pre-recorded video, as the original showcase was delayed thanks to the recent natural disasters over in Japan. But it was pretty much the same as what we would expect during a showcase, in all honesty. They showed off various trailers, as well as information about what is to come for Monster Hunter Wilds and Monster Hunter Stories 3. They gave us information in regards to upcoming event quests, additional features, and much more. So in this video, I'll try to break down what was presented to us into a little bit more of a bite-sized video. Of course, I strongly recommend checking out the main showcase if you haven't seen it already, as it will go into a lot more detail than what I will do here. So first of all, Capcom kicked off the show by showing us a new trailer, as well as information in regards to Monster Hunter Stories 3. Now I won't go into great depth here, but basically the trailer showed off more story aspects, focusing around endangered species and invasive monsters. These two concepts were also demonstrated in a little bit of a gameplay manner, showing us that invasive monsters are tough monsters that you have to drive off, you don't actually kill them, and in doing so follow them back to their nests where you can potentially grab yourself an endangered egg. Endangered monsters are rarer monsters to the various areas in the game. Upon hatching the egg, raising it, you're able to potentially release these endangered monsters back into the wild, into certain areas, to increase the population of those said monsters. In terms of gameplay mechanics, this leads to better stats, increased chances of getting those monsters again, and potentially, depending on the area they are released into, there's a chance of getting dual element monsters, meaning that certain monsters could be hatched with elements that you don't normally find them with. Of course, the trailer also showed off a ton more aspects to do with the story and the characters, as well as the introduction of certain monsters such as Arkveld being introduced to Monster Hunter Stories 3. So it's definitely looking interesting. Of course, there'll be more information as we lead up to the launch date on the 13th of March 2026, and also I'll be interested to hear if you want me to cover Monster Hunter Stories 3. I covered Stories 2 a tiny bit, but I didn't go into any great detail with video guides on the channel, but maybe this is a chance for a change. Anyway, moving on to the main event, which was Title Update 4 information. Of course, they started by showing us the Gogmazios trailer, a fantastic trailer that gave us glimpses and hints at what we can expect from the monster. Its different phases we have to fight it in, as well as the fact that this hunt is a 4-player hunt that can feature 4 support hunters as well. So while some people suspected this would be an 8-player hunt, I guess it is technically, but it's still only a 4-player player-controlled hunt. It's going to be interesting to see if this can be done solo, because I believe the support hunters will be there regardless, as the support hunters, from what was shown, seem to play a key part in countering certain aspects of Gogmazios. The takeaway of the fight is that certain support hunters, were using what looked like siege weapons, and when Gogmazios performs its ultimate attack, it looked like we had to take cover behind Fabio in order to survive. It definitely looks like the hunt is broken up into 2 parts, obviously emphasizing the fact that we're going to need a fire weapon and a dragon weapon. I believe the fire weapon is for phase 1 and the dragon weapon for phase 2, but this could be incorrect on my part, but we'll obviously get more information when the time comes. There is also a new NPC hunter, Nadia, who I assume is something to do with this quest in terms of its story. She also plays an active role in the actual hunt itself. But what else was shown off? Well, they showed off the Gogmazios, or the Gogma Artian weapons. This is an enhancement to the Artian weapon system, where you take Artian weapons, infuse them or implement Gogmazios materials into them, and in doing so, you're able to power up the weapon with active skills. These active skills appear to be set bonuses found on armor normally. So for example, the Ebony Adogeron's power, which normally gives us an increase to the burst skill, it can now be infused into Gogma Artian weapons, thus reducing the need to use multiple parts of that armor if we wanted that Ebony Adogeron set bonus. So say we wanted the full Ebony Adogeron set bonus, we would normally need 4 pieces of the Ebony Adogeron armor to get the full effect. Now we can reduce that by 1, as it potentially can be found on Artian weapons. or infused into Artian weapons. For those of you veteran hunters, this pretty much works akin, in a way, to how the Safi Jiva weapons worked. How sometimes we used to get armor set bonuses on the weapons of the Safi weapons. So think of it like that. Unfortunately, it is adding another element of RNG, which could be frustrating for some players depending on how easy it is to obtain the Gogmazios materials in order to infuse our Artian weapons and turn them into Gogma weapons. Another aspect of the Gogma Artian weapons is that you can amend the bonuses on fully reinforced Artian weapons, thus increasing the reinforcement bonuses you already have. You can also potentially re-roll the reinforcement bonuses if you are not happy with what you already have. But unfortunately, this again does add a little element of RNG, which is a criticism, but I understand it as a way to keep players playing. Of course, they also showed off the Gogmazios armor, as well as the Palico armor that we can get from the Gogmazios hunt, which looks fine in all honesty, but I'm more interested to see the stats on the armor. Finally, for Gogmazios, it has been confirmed that you need to be Hunter rank 100 plus in order to actually take on Gogmazios. It will be available during a special mission, special hunt. Afterwards, it will be replayable via a permanent event quest. But next up, they talked about the introduction of Arch-Tempered Jin Dahaad, the next Arch-Tempered monster we're going to be facing. They only really showed off a tiny bit of gameplay with Arch-Tempered Jin Dahaad, showing off what looked like its new ultimate attack, as well as the armor we get from the monster and the armor we get for our Palico. Both of these, in my opinion, look fantastic. But in regards to monster and quest related stuff, that was pretty much it that was shown off. Still, it's two big events with Gogmazios and Jin Dahaad, well, Arch-Tempered Jin Dahaad being added to the game. Gogmazios will be added on the 16th of December, whilst I believe Arch-Tempered Jin Dahaad is coming on the 24th of December. So there's a Christmas present there, I guess. But Capcom then went on to talk about additional systems. This is where they talk about miscellaneous stuff, including event quests, changes to systems, new DLC, things like that. First of all, and quite importantly, they talked about a new process called Transcendence. This we can use to enhance our armor, making them even stronger. Think of it like breaking the limit cap, but this is primarily used to enhance the decoration slots found on your armor pieces. This, however, doesn't look like it's going to be cheap, as it seems to cost hunter symbols, certificates for whatever monster the armor is related to, as well as gems or plates. So this not only increases the maximum level of your armor, but also, like I said, your decoration slots, leading to potentially more creative builds and stronger equipment, which probably is going to be needed for Gogmazios. Next up, they've added 3 new optional quests, which in all honesty are challenge quests. They don't feature any super special rewards when it comes to actual tangible items per se. These optional quests feature the 9-star monsters found in certain regions. So there's one based in Azuz, which features 9-star Ajarakan, Rathalos, and New Udra. There's one in the Scarlet Forest that features Mizuzune, Lagaiakras, and Ufduna. And then finally there's one in the Windward Plains that features Dushagama, Seregios, and Raydal. You'll notice that 2 of these quests feature 2 new 9-star monsters in Rathalos and Dushagama. There's probably going to be one added for Wyveria later on down the line, but for now, these are the ones we have. But is there any reason to do these hunts except for bragging rights? Well, for completing these hunts, you're rewarded with very special nameplates that you can use on your guild cards. Next up, they've said that new support hunters will be added to our roster of support hunters. There's going to be 2 of them, Griffin, which is a greatsword wielder from Ferrum unit, and Nightmist, a light bowgun user from Aurora unit. Part of me thinks that these 2 new hunters have been added to expand the roster if people want to do Gogmazios solo, and they're going to have 7 support hunters helping them instead of just 4. Next up, they talked about downloadable content, what we're going to be getting for free in that regards, as well as what paid DLC is on the way. There is some armor and weapon skins in the paid DLC, which I ruffled my feathers up at a little bit, but for the most part, I think it's just an additional way to support the game if you want to. You don't have to buy it, of course. Some of the gestures I'll probably get in, and there are some pendants that are absolutely adorable, which, yeah, it's definitely something I got my eyes on. They then went on to talk about event quests. They have another plethora of event quests coming up that give us very quirky armor pieces like Woodwards that are riding on our heads, more weapon skins, quests for heavy armor spheres, and more. Capcom then went on to talk about the festival of Accord, the Lumen Hymn, which is basically the Christmas and winter event. This event is much like the other seasonal events, so we get access to all previous event quests, daily limited bounties, the Grand Hub is decorated, and we get access to new seasonal outfits for our hunters and palicos. It looks very gorgeous in all honesty, and each time one of these seasonal events comes out, it seems to top the previous one. The Lumen Hymn will be taking place from the 19th of December through to the 14th of January, so it's going to be here for quite a while. Of course, I'll bring you more information on the Lumen Hymn and a guide to it when it arrives. Finally, Capcom went on to talk about future updates, mainly saying that there are going to be no more new monster additions to the game. However, in February, we will be getting a final update that features the last Arch-Tempered monster, which is Arch-Tempered Arkveld. This update will also feature the winners of the design contest, so the weapon design and pendant design contests. These will probably be added to the game in the form of event quests. And on top of that, with all these updates and an additional update in January 2026, so that's basically Title Update 4 in December, there's an update in January, and then finally the last update in February 2026, we will be getting updates that optimize the CPU and GPU usage for pretty much all systems, with the January patch focusing mainly on the Steam version of Monster Hunter Wilds. But there we have it, that is pretty much a breakdown of everything that was shown off in this Title Update 4 showcase. At the end of the day, it was a good showcase. I am very excited for Gogmazios, who is pretty much the main star and main event of this title update. I am a little bit worried about its Gogma Artian weapon system, but I'll withhold judgment until we've actually got our hands on it. I want to also apologise that sometimes I say Gogmazios and Gogmazio. I sometimes rotate between the two. I don't know why I do it, but yeah, there it is. But anyway, if you want to see the full showcase, I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can check it out. And until next time, I would love to hear your thoughts on what was shown. And until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you a quick breakdown of the Monster Hunter Wilds Title Update 4 showcase. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.